Welcome to Module 4, Video 4 from the Safe and Effective Use of AI in Education online resources.
As we all know, school administrative tasks can take significant time and effort. But from composing emails to long-term planning, AI systems are playing an increasing role in making school administration more efficient. In this video, we'll explore the various ways in which AI can support school operations. Composing emails and letters can be time-intensive, particularly for school leaders and teaching staff. Generative AI can produce professional and personalised communications efficiently, reducing the administrative burden on staff so they can focus on core responsibilities.
And I think the main things for us was to look at workload and think about, we know that that's a challenge in terms of retention of staff across our schools and across the country. And so we wanted to make sure that what was it that we could actually do to support them. So support lesson planning, how could it support feedback and marking, how could it support assessment? And I think those are the main sort of three things that we've really focused on at this part of our AI strategy.
And I think it's really starting to become embedded, especially over this previous year.
Obviously, there are things like AI policies that we're considering. We're looking at the whole change management structure for incorporating Gen AI tools into our ecosystems. And we're also having the conversations about what does this look like from a productivity side of things for our non-academic staff and also from our teaching staff. How could we really support them so that we can reduce their teacher workload or increase productivity or make them the smarter teachers we want them to be? So from a leadership perspective, there's a lot of big questions that we don't necessarily have answers for. From a teacher point of view, I think a lot of us are looking at it from just using it in a way to generate perhaps lesson plans, summarize documents, so really from a more productive administrative point of view in terms of saving time, in terms of just becoming smarter users for it.
Take the example, if you will, of the knit letter. We've got an outbreak of head lice knits in a particular year group, and we have to send a letter home about that. There are templates there. I'm sure there are plenty on the school server for that. But asking the generative AI to produce a letter for that and giving it a particular focus to the language. So we might draw on what we know about nudge theory, about behavioral insights, and say, can you incorporate these ideas into this generic letter home about a particular issue? Plenty of other examples where the AI can really help with workload when it comes to homeschool communication. This isn't about replacing admin staff, because it's much more about finding ways in which their time can be used much more effectively for the personal communication, which is really important when parents are thinking about their own child's education. So some letters, I think, will still be very much person-to-person communication. Others, perhaps, the AIs might be able to play a role in.
It is important that we engage with the output, critically evaluating it before we use it as a template or scaffold for our own writing. In many AI systems, we can provide our own source material, asking the generative AI tool to write in the style we have used in the past or referring to key pieces of information from the source material. This can also support with writing reports.
There's plenty of issues around which we need to develop policies, and we need to be up to date with what current government policy and strategy is around things. And there are some lovely tools out there where we can give it a particular document as a starting point. Far less likely than the more generic tools to hallucinate, to just make things up, because we're giving it source material to work from. And then saying, okay, read this document and now give me the changes that we need to make to our particular policy, or give me a summary of this, or even produce for me a 10-slide presentation that I could use with staff to introduce this. The other one is working with data. And schools, I think, have to be really careful in any use of data with language models. It needs to be anonymized. You do not want to be submitting pupil-level data to any of these AI engines. I think most schools would realize this. But with anonymized data, it's excellent at producing data visualizations and looking for patterns, identifying the exceptions there. So a school might do a survey of all of its pupils or all of its parents and want to produce a chart which illustrates those responses. We can do that with plenty of other desktop tools, of course, but it really simplifies the workflow by going to the AI, saying what sort of chart you want, and then asking it the question about, okay, summarize this, tell me the main ideas here, tell me the interesting things. I've even seen it used for working with whole school assessment data of, okay, compare this with what we expected them to get. Look at the GCSE scores compared to the Key Stage 2 SAT scores. Produce me a scatter plot. You don't want to have that identifying individual points by pupil name, but seeing the overall pattern, I think, is a really powerful insight for school leadership teams.
I use AI myself personally to produce a school promotional campaign, highlighting a data bank campaign, and to inform parents about free data over Christmas. I produced a little video using AI, so I typed in AI, for example, can you show me what an image would look like a post off to promote this, put in a few prompts, and then generate a few ideas, and then I sort of went a bit deeper into terms of what are the buzzwords that stand out. So I looked at various AI tools, so I've used it myself to promote stuff.
When selecting the tools to do these tasks with our own source material, we should always make sure that the AI tool that we use doesn't learn from our prompts, which could include copyrighted work. They should also meet the DFE's product safety expectations and be approved for our use by our education setting. Free tools in particular will often learn from our inputs and could lead to data breaches. By bearing this in mind, we can ensure that AI supports our processes whilst protecting data and intellectual property. Policy writing is another area where generative AI systems can provide support. Whether updating policies, drafting new ones, or responding to changes in legislation, AI can produce structured and coherent drafts. This means that you can concentrate on refining the content and understanding the implications for your setting. It's important to ensure that the AI system has only been used to speed up the process of updating the policy, and that these changes are checked and, where needed, iterated on either manually or by reprompting of the AI system, as mentioned previously. We mustn't outsource the thinking. You are still responsible for the content of the policy and ensuring it's appropriate for the context. Generative AI can also facilitate data analysis by identifying patterns in attendance, student performance, and well-being. And this capability enables school and college leaders to make data-driven decisions that enhance the school or college operations and student outcomes. In this example, the AI system may have access to special category data. Special category data under UK GDPR is sensitive personal data that needs extra protection. To process it, organisations must have a lawful basis under Article 6 and meet an additional condition under Article 9, such as explicit consent or legal requirement. When selecting the tool for this task, it's important that it is approved by your setting, which means it does not train the model using the data that you enter, and that you have a lawful basis for using the data in this way. Particular care is needed for these types of activities, and your schools will also need to consider how the data is protected. It is important to be transparent about how you are using your student data.
When it comes to long-term planning, generative AI can help structure development plans and also handle the complexities of timetabling. Planning school trips entails risk assessments, logistical arrangements, and communication with parents. AI can support this process by generating checklists, itineraries, and draft permission letters. AI can also contribute to staff professional development by suggesting tailored CPD opportunities.